Alright, so we're now ready to start with our rust. And to do that, I'll be using the 4712 Autoborn red oxide. And I do tend, when I get bottles of paint, I do tend to put a little bit of reducer in there with them. And just to darken that up a little bit. In the past, I've used transparent root beer, but it is very, very transparent. Hey, it could be me. Who knows? But we're just going to add 2 drops of our brown. This is actually detailed burnt umber from Wicked. And that does a couple things for us. Not only will it darken our transparent red oxide, or actually this isn't transparent red oxide, but this is red oxide. Not only will it darken it, but it'll also increase, this is sort of a transparent color, but when you start reducing it down, but it'll also increase the opacity of the paint just a touch. Now for rust, there's a ton of ways you can do this. We can start off with one of our grunge stencils. Grab this one. What's cool about this one is we have, you see those curved shapes that are cut out of it there? So what's cool about that is we can just lay it just right in here. Spraying away from this edge because I'm trying to keep that clean a little bit. Although if this was rusted, it's not going to be completely clean. We can lay this in and just build up some of our rust areas. Or you can just go straight in freehand. Really all I'm doing is just a series of dagger strokes just up and down. Just and this will take a while to build up. See, I spidered it there. But that's okay. Why? Because it's rust. Go back over that. Build that up. And that can just be a streak. Yes, it's very important to have the lid on the cup. Don't want any spillages. Another thing I found too is this red oxide color, just a couple layers over top of this aluminum base gives you a really cool kind of coppery burnt orange color. Don't be afraid to get in there and do some really, really tight streaks. And those streaks, they don't have to be perfectly straight. They can be wavy. You know, as water would run down this, you know, due to surface tension and imperfections in the actual metal, it's not just going to run straight down. It will. I mean, look at the way water runs down your windshield when it rains. It doesn't go straight down. It's going to, yeah, it follows the path from top to bottom, but it's it's wavy. And if this section here was our main, I guess, bed of rust, our main rusted spot, as more water flowed down, this would be our stains that would be carried down from this main rust down the rest of the panel. In here. And again, you can grab your texture stencils, throw some texture in there. Important thing is, you are using stencils. A, don't go too heavily with them. But B, use them in different spots and turn them over. You know, uh, yeah, this shape here, when you turn that on its side, you got a completely new shape. You flip it upside down, you got a completely different shape. Or lay your finger over it and spray only half of it. Totally new shape right there. It's not on the stencil. I guess it is on the stencil, but it's not cut into the stencil, I guess I should say. You know, you could even grab a piece of sandpaper, scratch into it, or if you have a red Scotch-Brite, gray Scotch-Brite even, scratch into it. Even just make little patches of rust. Grab Scotch Brite again or sandpaper. Make sure it's dry first. Touch into it. Layer some more on. If there's really no right or wrong way to do rust or weathered look, at least as far as I'm concerned, there isn't. Punisher. What if you want to do a warp or a dent in the piece? How would the rust be done? Well, it would the rust would just follow whatever that warp was, or the dent, or if it dented from the other side. If it's a bubble on this side, the rust would just fall into place. I don't know what the word I'm looking for. All right, so that's starting to look kind of decent. But this red oxide color really doesn't get that dark. There's a couple things you can do with that. Darken it up. We're going to add 2 more drops of brown. And 1 drop of violet. Autoborn 4706 violet. Punisher, did that answer your question? Or did I confuse you more? Good. I'm glad you did. I'm not quite sure I knew what I was saying. CBG, you still there? Still with us? Awesome. So yeah, a lot of people, when they're trying to darken up a color, they'll just use black. And you know what? I was guilty of that myself, and still, of course, until I started watching Rick on his blog shows and watching tutorials, and yes, black will darken a color. However, black also kills color. So familiarize yourself with the color wheel. how colors complement and contrast each other. Familiarize yourself also with the Gestalt principle, painting what you see and not what you think you see. Break everything down into shapes. Start learning. When you look at a picture, when you look at a person, when you look at an object, go out and look at your next door neighbor's house. Break that down into shapes and learn to start painting the shapes and the colors that you actually see, not what not what you actually think you see, not the whole. Paint the parts, not the whole. And and when you paint the parts, the whole will take care of itself. I know I put just a quick tutorial about that on the forum a couple weeks ago, but something that I try and keep in mind every time I pick up the airbrush. Um, Paint the parts, and now what I think the parts are. And in the end, that picture will come out 10 times better. Another thing I'm guilty of too is rushing things. Anybody else do that? Get in the shop and just spray something just to spray it. That's all well and good, but start a project and don't be afraid to spend 10, 20 hours on it to finish it up. That's something I started realizing over the last few days, and I'm going to start committing myself to actually, if I can't sit down here for a few hours, then I'm probably not going to paint. I'm not going to sit down here and practice fire and be done in a half an hour. I need to get out of my spaghetti flames anyway. Sergeant M, if you wanted to have a scratch, would it be the same method, just with a hard line, the scratch being rusted? Yeah, we could go in, and I could, do I have a nail? Let me see. I'll probably scratch through to the black that's underneath my aluminum base, but I guess that's really okay. We could scratch that away. I don't have an X-Acto down here, or else I'd just use that. All my blades are in the garage. Okay, so now that I've scratched some of that away, And that in itself will create some texture. I don't know how well you guys can see that. What I do then is on this line that I just scratched, I'm just going to fill that with rust. Could use a stipple for this as well, stipple technique. I don't have a popsicle stick down here. Just blow off my finger though. Another thing you can do, especially with a gravity feed airbrush, pull that trigger back, point, and let it burst of air. Didn't really mean to scratch it. Oh well. That's what test panels are for, right? It'd be another good way of doing a Punisher. Just a dark hairline, fade out the edges. All right, and we need to go a little darker still. About our limit, so we'll go ahead and stop recording here and start at part 3.